Hello and welcome to the Japanese Economic Review channel. Today we're diving into the brand new numbers for the indexes of business conditions for November 2025, fresh from Japan's Cabinet Office. Think of this report as a full checkup for the economy. We get to see where it's headed, how it's doing right now, and what the story has been. So let's get right into it. Now, this whole report really revolves around one core idea, the Composite Index, or CI. What it does is pretty clever. It takes a whole bunch of different economic data, we're talking everything from production to jobs, and boils it all down into one single powerful number. This helps us cut through all the noise and see the big picture, the real trend of the economy. You know, the easiest way to wrap your head around these indexes is to think about driving a car. The leading index, that's your windshield, showing you what's coming up on the road ahead. The coincident index is like your speedometer. It tells you exactly how fast you're going right at this moment. And the lagging index, well, that's your rearview mirror, confirming the path you've just covered. Let's start by looking right through that windshield. So first up is the future, the leading index. This is kind of our economic crystal ball. It gives us a sneak peek at what business activity might look like a few months from now. So what's it telling us for November? And here's the headline number, 110.5. That's up 0.7 points from the month before. In simple terms, this is a pretty good sign. The outlook for the near future is looking optimistic, like the economy is building up a bit of steam. But what's really going on behind that number? Let's break it down. The biggest hero here is the Consumer Attitude Index, adding a really healthy 0.71. People are feeling more confident, and that's backed up by more job offers. But look at the other side of the coin. New housing starts are acting as a major anchor, pulling the index down by 0.74. It's a classic tug-of-war, and for November, consumer optimism just barely won out. And you know, this isn't just some random one-month blip. This is actually the 6th month in a row that the leading index has gone up. That tells us we're looking at a pretty consistent strengthening trend of positive expectations for Japan's economy as we move towards the new year. Okay, so the future is looking brighter. But what about right here, right now? To figure that out, we need to glance down at our economic speedometer, the coincident index. And this is where the story takes a twist. The coincident index for November is 115.2, which is actually a decrease of 0.7 points from October. So while we're looking ahead with some optimism, it seems like our current speed has just dropped off a little. When you dig into this, you see a real split personality. The good news is coming from outside Japan. Exports are strong, investment goods are moving. But domestically, the picture is a lot weaker. The production index and wholesale sales were the main culprits here, and they were weak enough to pull the whole average down. What makes this dip really stand out is that it comes right on the heels of a positive month in October. It kind of suggests that the steady recovery we've been watching might be, well, taking a little breather. It's a sign that there's some turbulence in the present moment. Okay, so now it's time to check that rearview mirror. The lagging index is all about confirmation. It helps us understand if that slowdown we just saw on this speedometer was a real pothole in the road or just a momentary flicker. And there you have it. The lagging index confirms it. It came in at 111.5, down 0.7 points. Now, does that number sound familiar? It should. It's the exact same drop that we just saw in the coincident index. This pretty much seals it. Economic momentum definitely weakened recently. Looking at the details here, the story is pretty stark. The single biggest factor was a massive jump in inventories. That's a negative 1.11 contribution. In plain English, a lot of products went unsold, which confirms demand slowed down. Now, on the flip side, the job market stayed stable and corporate tax revenues looked okay, but those bright spots just weren't enough to overcome that glut of unsold goods. This drop is significant because it breaks a pattern. It's the first major dip we've seen in this particular index for a while, which really solidifies the story that the economy hit a bit of a soft patch in the recent past. Okay, so let's pull all of this together. We've looked through the windshield, we've checked the speedometer, and we've glanced in the rearview mirror. What we have is a positive view of the future, but a definite slowdown in the present that's confirmed by the past. So what does this mixed-up picture really mean? This chart just says it all, doesn't it? On the left, you've got the leading index, our future, pointing up by 0.7, but right next to it, the coincident and lagging indexes, the present and the past, are both down by the exact same amount. It's the perfect split-screen view of Japan's economy. Optimistic about tomorrow, but definitely facing some headwinds today. And that leaves us with the million-dollar question. Will that optimism we see in the leading index be powerful enough to pull the present back into positive territory? Or will the current slowdown prove to be stubborn and eventually drag that future optimism back down to earth? Honestly, it's a real economic cliffhanger, and we'll all be watching closely to see how it unfolds.
Thank you for watching the Japanese Economic Review. We look forward to having you with us again.